welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage. This is ET-NA's special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry and area that matters to you. Tonight, we bring you two influencer conversations. First up with Zoho, and then later on, a conversation with Taxmantra. Cloud computing services for small businesses is invaluable, and tonight I'm in conversation with Chennai-based Zoho to understand how small businesses can and should be using cloud when it comes to all of their needs. Take a listen to some highlights of that conversation. Sridhar, thank you very much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. My first question to you is to talk to us about Zoho. What really the reason and the idea behind setting up Zoho was?
Zoho is a cloud product suite, and we call ourselves the operating system for business. And the idea for Zoho came from the first trend is, of course, all of software is moving to the cloud and mobile. That's a trend now that's absolutely certain in 2018 now. All of software, all of business software, everything is moving to the cloud now. And we anticipated this over 15 years ago, and we started building up this product suite all from India. And we started small, and in the past 15 years now we have grown to over 5,000 people with over 40 different applications covering the entire, all aspects of business. And we provide a full suite called Zoho One, which is an end-to-end suite to run the entire business. That is what our value proposition is.
I want to talk about the use of technology and the role that technology really plays in the life of an MSME, of an entrepreneur. And the reason I ask you is that large corporations are talking about things like blockchain, AI, virtual reality, etc. How much of that is being used by MSMEs? How much of that perhaps even makes sense for them to look at?
The rate of technology adoption in India, particularly in the MSME segment, is quite low. It starts at a very low base. The vast majority of Indian businesses, particularly the small businesses and even mid-sized businesses, have not used technology effectively in the past, but that's beginning to change, particularly in the last 5 years. I'm seeing a lot of change. And the reason, of course, is the need for productivity gains. We cannot simply just consume labor to grow a company anymore. First, labor is becoming more expensive, and it should. The main part of wage increase is really productivity gain, and productivity gain comes from technology adoption. This is something that Indian businesses have started to realize, and particularly I see this wherever there are labor shortages now, which are starting to emerge in the economy, and business people realize that technology is the answer. We have to raise the productivity of the workforce, and technology, particularly information technology, is very critical. So that's why in the past 5 years we have seen major trend of adoption, and it's still starting at a low base. There is still a lot of room to run in the next 10 or 20 years. I expect the Indian economy to catch up with the advanced economies in terms of technology adoption, and thereby catch up in terms of productivity.
We were talking earlier about how much technology MSME should look at. A lot of them on a call-in show that we have here on Leaders of Tomorrow tell us that they don't use much technology because of the costs involved, whether it's cost of training people, whether it's the cost involved with having the requisite licenses for the software or the hardware. Your advice then for the viewers of our show about how to overcome that?
So one of the major reasons for low technology adoption in India, of course, is the cost of technology. And there's some very good news on that front. The costs are coming down rapidly. We already see this in the consumer end, where smartphones have become really, really cheap now, and they have spread everywhere now. And the same thing is happening in the business technology, information technology front as well. The cost of networking, the cost of bandwidth, the cost of cloud software, all of that is coming down. And all of that is becoming more affordable.
I want to talk about the GST. Has that had much of an impact as far as your own business is concerned?
GST has unleashed a massive change where the whole enterprise has to become digital now. And the old manual processes never work in the GST era because you have to file your returns and you have to be on top of your game. So in a sense, by essentially that you are forced to adopt to GST, and that is blessing in a way, because technology then comes into the business, and once a business adopts technology, they see the value, they see how much more they can do with the technology. So in that sense, after that initial period of hiccups, GST has settled down and things are getting better. We see this visibly, and we see more and more adoption.
Very briefly, talk to us about the work that you're doing with banks, with the banking industry, and some details about how that process is really going for you.
So the announcement we made with this banking, contextual banking, the critical piece there's twofold. One is the productivity gain for the company from reducing the manual work in reconciling, for example, their payments to vendors, collecting money from customers, and applying for loan, all of these. These are it's important that these manual processes become automated so that we reduce error and we speed up business. I know no business person who actually likes all that stuff. It doesn't add any value to the business when people spend their time reconciling their bank statements. So it's very important to automate all of that. The second aspect is we are also speeding up the flow of credit in the economy by making these credit decisions better. The information for making the credit decision is available in our software. And so when a business applies for a loan through our software, now they can actually submit all this information. The bank can make a much better decision. This speeds up the flow of credit to the right business, which helps the business and it helps the economy. So it's very important. And so these are something that cloud technology really brings all these innovations possible. So we are very happy to be at the forefront of all this, and we really are passionate in getting this adopted widely.
Okay, very quickly, I want to talk about then what perhaps some of the advantages are for small businesses to use a software like yours, and also what's next on the radar for you.
Every business should have a software strategy, technology strategy. It's very important now because software is eating the world, truly. And we are seeing software completely transforming the business landscape. Every business, regardless of what business you are in, software is now transforming that business. So I recommend that every business, including MSMEs, have a software strategy. That's something very possible in India because we are producing very large number of software engineers. And so if businesses have a very good software strategy, we can employ the software engineers coming out of our colleges and universities. And we can also make the business run better using that software expertise. So we want to rethink business processes, the entire way we are doing business in terms of software, because it truly has the power to transform business. This is something that I'm very passionate about, and it's something I hope Indian businesses realize on a large scale.
Sridhar, thank you very much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. It's time for a break. On the other side, we'll bring you a conversation with Kolkata-based Taxmantra. Just stay tuned. In today's rapidly changing regulatory environment, industry-specific compliance services is definitely the need of the hour. Leaders of Tomorrow was in Kolkata as part of a 20-city pan-India roadshow that we do, and Pooja Jain spoke with Taxmantra. Listen in to what they had to say.
Filing one's taxes has been described as a process that's plagued with pain points, misinformation, a process that's highly manual. So that said, how can we strike a better balance between tax and technology?
Most of the Indian tax laws are very grandfathered in that sense that they are still not ready for new business models, emerging companies, and that's where small businesses, especially from Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, wherein they don't have enough help locally, they need to have that advisory wherein they get a lot of option as to what is right and what is wrong. And I think that's where Taxmantra comes in terms of the services which we provide. And we feel that with technology, we can actually help to the last business which is there in irrespective of where that business is located. And that's how we would help businesses. When we see that the business owner would need hand-holding in terms of what is right and what is wrong in that business. And with technology, we brought in, for example, we brought in Cloud CFO Services, wherein they get complete services under one roof in terms of the business advisory, in terms of compliances, in terms of if they need to be ready for investment fundraise. Because it's very difficult for small and medium-sized businesses to have in-house CFO. And it's very difficult to have, because there would be corporate law compliances, there would be labor compliances, there would be direct tax, and would be other taxation compliances, to have everyone in-house, to have a team in-house initially. So that's where we come in and we say that, okay, fine, we are your cloud CFO, we are there for you. We are flexible in terms of how we work, and we will help you. We will help you in as a partner in building your business. And that's where I feel technology helps, because technology helps us as Taxmantra to go to that last business, irrespective of where they are located.
The gist that I'm getting is that Taxmantra is focused on a lot more than just taxes. So what are the specific services that you offer and the problems you're looking to eradicate?
Yeah, so when you start a business, you need to know a lot of things. For instance, with respect to business model, is it in line with the laws in that country wherein you want to operate? In terms of what are the registrations you require, what are the compliances you need to do once you are registered? So at Taxmantra, from day one, our idea was to bring all the services under one roof, wherein a business owner doesn't need to go to different consultant in terms of setting up, in terms of running the businesses, in terms of if they want to actually raise funds after a point of time, or they want to scale in other geographies, or they want to scale in other countries. So that's where I think Taxmantra plays a big role, wherein they can just talk to us, and they have just one connect, and that is Taxmantra, wherein they can come to us and get all the help. I think that's the biggest point. The second point is with technology also coming in, we do help small businesses remotely, and they really don't need to hire a lot of in-house team members, wherein all the compliances can be taken care of by us. For example, we started Cloud CFO Services, wherein for all the functions, be it HR, be it labor laws, be it corporate law, taxation, you can actually hire Taxmantra as your remote cloud CFO, wherein all the services would be done by the team at Taxmantra. In addition to Cloud CFO, we also do corporate law services. We help ESOP implementation services. We help you in setting up businesses. We also help you in terms of GST compliances. We did a lot of GST impact series, wherein we help businesses to understand to the last mile what will be the impact of GST on their business. So I think if you want to summarize, Taxmantra is a global 360-degree tax and legal firm, wherein you do not have to think whether this service will be provided by Taxmantra or not. It will be provided by Taxmantra, and you do not need to actually have to have more than one consultant.
Now, you've mentioned raising funds. Does partnering with Taxmantra help a company become more investor friendly? And if you could cite some examples.
Yeah, so one thing which we realized over a period of time where we have already helped more than 100 million fundraise in the Indian startup ecosystem is that businesses are not ready with their compliances, and I feel that SMEs and small businesses should have a system from day one in terms of compliance hygiene, in terms of reporting, and they should not wait for the due diligence reports wherein the investor would say that these are the things wherein your startup has not complied with. So I think that's where we come in. We help the startup to do self due diligence. We prepare the startup for fundraise. So the due diligence process becomes very, very smooth, because all the factors, there are around 38 points wherein we help them. So all those factors are covered in before they actually go and talk to investors. So once they talk to the investors, there is no problem from a legal perspective. So I think that's the biggest thing. Second thing is that we also help them in reviewing the agreements, in helping them to understand the agreements, the SHAs, the other things in terms of investments. We also help them to file all the forms because we also help investors also in terms of giving them the quarterly and monthly reporting to understand the right signals and to understand where that startup is heading. So that is very important from an investor's perspective, because they also need to know once they have invested, especially for an angel investor, to know where that startup is heading.
Depending on where companies are in their growth cycle, some are more proactive when it comes to tax and compliance law, and others are of course more reactive. How does the guidance you offer differ accordingly?
We at Taxmantra, we always suggest our clients to be prepared for the compliances, be prepared for the new laws. You would have seen that the taxation scenario in the country has become so dynamic in terms of the changes which has been brought in the last 15 months. So you have to be prepared, you have to have a system and process to do compliances. And we always suggest that you should have right kind of advisor who can give you broad perspective about what's happening in the compliance regime and how that will impact your business from a very specific point of view. To my thought process, to businesses who are reactive, I have seen them that they ultimately end up paying penalties, because when all the compliances have gone online and you do not have an option to go back and fix something, you would end up paying penalties. So rather than that, you should have right kind of advisors. You should have someone who can give you options, who can give you broader perspective about the business model, about the compliances, how that can specifically impact your business. They can help you in that. And also you have a system and they can help you to set up the processes so that the compliances can automate, can happen automatically, and you can focus as a business owner, you can focus on your business and grow. So I think that's my suggestion to business owner. I don't think now you have an option where you can have a reactive attitude to compliances. You have to be part of the compliance regime which is there now.
The reality is that many Indian tax laws are unfortunately grandfathered. What sort of challenge does that pose to your business?
You rightly said that most of the tax laws are grandfathered and there is no ready answers to the new business models, emerging business models. And that's where we come in, because we at Taxmantra, we understand technology and we understand the business angle of that technology. And that's where when businesses come to us, we give them option. For example, if there is a particular business model which they want to register and they want to operate, we tell them whether India is perfect for them, or they should go for Singapore, or they should go for other countries to actually start that business, taking into consideration the tax scenarios in India and other things. So till the time the taxes doesn't change and become more in sync with new business model, so that's where the businesses needs to do. Taxmantra, as I said, that Taxmantra is a global tax and legal firm wherein we help businesses and we give them global perspective. For example, just imagine a situation wherein a cloud CFO from Taxmantra would tell a young emerging business owner that what are the trends of M&A in your industry, or what kind of businesses or business model is happening in terms of other countries for your business, or what are the opportunities you have in other geographies. So that kind of value addition we bring at Taxmantra, which a normal tax and law firm, local tax firm will struggle to provide. That's where we feel that with technology bringing in, with the global perspective, with all the services we provide under one roof, in terms of technology, in terms of understanding the business model, in terms of giving them options, because business owners need options. They want to understand what are the options for a particular thing which they need to do. And that's where we come in. And I think with that, we are very hopeful and we are very confident that we are changing the taxation landscape of India. And we would marching ahead to become a very large tax and legal firm on a global platform. And that's our vision. And in that process, we would help many small businesses, emerging businesses, because if Indian economy needs to grow and do well, it has to have 10 Flipkarts from at least 10 more cities, then only, because people need to create big businesses from small cities, from tier 2, tier 3 cities. And that's where we help them, because we use technology. They don't need to be dependent on the local CA. They can talk to us. They can get all the services from us, irrespective of where they operate from. So I think that is a very big advantage which we have. From day one, we at Taxmantra thought very different. We never wanted to create this as a local firm. We wanted to have a global perspective. We wanted to create that blend between technology and taxation. How do we use processes? How do we automate those processes? We give a lot of information wherein the business owner feels that he is in complete control of the compliances. On the dashboard, he can see that these are the compliances which have been undertaken. Because as a business owner, you need the information, you need the data. If you have the data, you can take the right call on businesses. So that's where we are adding value, and that's how we're going to scale and become big.
That's our show tonight. If you have any feedback for us or you're interested in being featured here on the show, you can always write in to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. On social media, tweet at me at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET Now is our official Twitter handle. On Facebook, reach us at Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Completely out of time in this episode. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.